What we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party.
1, 2, 3 in the place to be. You're now rocking with the BKMC, the Talib Kweli. This is the People's Party. This is the world's best podcast. And as you see, we are back in our home studio. Woo! Thank you to everybody who has worked hard to get us back in here. It's been a long, difficult road. We have brought you many beautiful interviews on Zoom, but it's good to be back here. And definitely shout out to all the essential workers and all the people who had to work and go out in the world regardless of how they felt about the pandemic and the lockdown. Of course, and as always, I have my lovely and talented and beautiful and funny and intelligent co-host, Jasmin Leigh, in the place to be. What up, Jasmin?
What's up?
How you feeling, Jasmin?
I'm feeling world traveled, Talib. That's how I'm feeling.
Oh, that's right. You got your passport?
Yes, I got my passport. I went to Mexico.
You've been out here in these COVID streets, flying to Mexico and doing all types of dangerous things.
Oh, yes, I was. If you guys only knew.
Well, that's a conversation for off camera. We're going to stick to the subject, though, Jasmin. Today, we have one of the key architects of hip-hop. What we know is hip-hop. What we know is great hip-hop, because hip-hop comes in many different forms and fashions. But for my money, what we know is great hip-hop, the blueprint for great hip-hop, this man possesses it. He is one of the undeniable godfathers of the East Coast sound. And I'm just going to list some of the artists that he has worked with through his illustrious career: A Tribe Called Quest, Run DMC, Nas, Busta Rhymes, Black Star, Slick Rick, Common, Rakim, Ghostface Killer, Raekwon, Jay-Z, Kanye West. Look, this whole show would be me reading this man's accolades. Soul Survivor is an album that changed the way I saw producer albums. I'm on this man's album, Soul Survivor 2. This is a man who started one of the seminal groups of hip-hop with his partner CL Smooth. They did records all sold out. Mecca and the Soul Brother, The Main Ingredient. This man was entrusted with the legacy of J Dilla. He gave us, or helped to provide us, the J Stay Paid, Chocolate Boy Wonder, Soul Brother #1, Pete Rock from Money Earned in Mount Vernon. Welcome to the People's Party. Give it up for Pete Rock and A Place to Be.
Peace.
What up, Pete?
What up, y'all?
How you feeling?
Claps.
Congratulations to you guys on this, man. This is one of the greatest podcasts I've probably ever been on.
Thank you. When we came up with the concept for this show, you were one of the guests that fit the profile for the show almost to a T.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Now, we're going to start in the Bronx because that's where your story starts. It is absolutely a hip-hop story because hip-hop largely is a marriage of immigrants from places like Jamaica and Puerto Rico and the experience in the Bronx, New York, and how they took what they learned from their homelands and brought it to a New York City setting where people were living largely in abject poverty and largely under a lot of strife. So you were born in the Bronx to Jamaican parents who were immigrants. Is that correct?
Yes,
so
sir. Yes, sir.
It doesn't get more hip hop than that.
Nope.
Nope.
You Ask Kool Herc.
Ask Kool Herc, right.
Yeah,
you moved at 7, if I'm correct, to Mount Vernon, which we call Money Earned in Mount Vernon. Your cousin is a legendary Heavy D.
Yes, sir.
Heavy D put Mount Vernon on the map.
All day.
You linked up with CL Smooth in high school, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, word up. Tell us a little bit about those early days of running around with Heavy D and the boys and CL Smooth.
At that time, I was on tour with Hev. I was just a record crate carrying, the normal crate carrying story, just a young kid who's, happy to be in another atmosphere he's never been in before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm with my cousin Heavy D, and he's like this blown up big hip hop star. And I'm just under him, and I'm just soaking up everything that I see like a sponge, from the studio to the stage, you know what I'm saying? And, I made up my mind and said, yeah, this is what I want to do. It all started from us just being us in the neighborhood, growing up as regular kids, loving music, to Hev getting on. And, that was like a big, big, big deal in Mount Vernon, New York. And then once he set a trend, then you know, he was taking us along with him. And that's when I met Marl. And I was like 13. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, Marley needed a DJ on the radio. And Hev was like, yo, I got my little cousin. He nice. You know what I'm saying? He you know, I'm only 13. You know, probably going on 14 at the time. And he's like, yo, try him out. And then Marley put me on the air.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Put me on the air. And it was history from there. And then I was like on every weekend with Marley from Fridays and Saturdays. Then started rotating with like Clark Kent and Kevin and a couple of other DJs. And then I built a name, you know, in New York from that.
Funk
And
Flex
then-
was in that rotation as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? After meeting all the producers and, you know, and everybody that was coming up to the radio stations to do interviews, I was meeting everybody. And I was like, yeah, I wanted to do what Marley was doing, you know what I'm saying? Because he was like a mentor to me. And so I was like, yeah, this looks like it's fun. And then, you know, I just kind of applied myself to the producing aspect of it during the Heavy D success.
How did you get your parents to consent to you working at a radio station so young?
Jamaican parents, man, they just like,
He got a job.
Right.
yeah, keep them off the streets, keep them out of trouble. I'm fine with that. So
Right.
Boy got a
that's how it
job.
went,
Cool with me.
Cool with me.
yeah, exactly. But I was like mad young, 13, going to hip hop clubs. That's too young, and they were shooting in there and going crazy, fighting, and you know I'm young, and you know the rooftop has only one exit. You know what I'm saying? And I went with Hev to do his show. Then we would go and see KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane, Dougie Fresh, and I experienced some real street stuff happening. But the rooftop is small. It's a roller skating rink, and it's a small spot. And it only has one exit. So when they start shooting in there,
Everybody
you're
gotta
like,
get out.
oh, I'm going to die. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to die. But I'm like right behind Hev running, you know, even Heavy D running up out of there. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy.
Put your life
But
on the line for that real hip hop.
Yeah, it was just a learning experience, man. But it's like the energy of hip hop, yo. You know, I'm not saying the streets part of it, but it's just that energy, that community, that hip hop, black, just, you know, that's what we were experiencing. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't stop us. It didn't keep us in the house, man. The gunshots, the stabbings, all of that. We still was going to see who we wanted to see rock.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've busted up my knees jumping out of many of New York clubs. But speaking of Jamaican influence, I feel like if you grow up in New York, you kind of already have a Jamaican influence, whether or not you had immigrant parents that were actually from Jamaica. But you did. So what elements do you feel like were from growing up in a Jamaican household?
The music, definitely the music. Pops used to play reggae all throughout the house. And then just, you know, it was something about reggae music, like the instruments that were being played, the heavy bass, the drumming. And then they were rapping and we didn't even know it. You know what I'm saying? Like you had U-Roy, you had a whole bunch of artists.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, and it was just rap in Jamaican form. And then Kool Herc brought it to America and turned it into what it is in America today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's a big deal for, you know, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? And you know, very appreciative of those days, the Bambaataa, the Kool Hercs, you know, because that's the cloth I was cut from, and that's what taught me, you know, kept my mind, you know, intact for what was about to manifest.
Now to pivot back to Hev for a second, I think his reggae music is underappreciated. You know, the first time I even ever heard of Pete Rock and CL Smooth was, I think, on Girls You Love Me, when Pete Rock and CL Smooth was on stage drinking Cisco. And
You want to hear something?
please.
That's me singing in the chorus. Girls, They Love Me.
That makes sense.
At 15 years old,
Girls,
bro.
girls that love me.
To this day, I listen to that and I'm like, oh. I know one day I got to tell people that's me.
Today's the day.
Here at People's Party. Guys, so I looked up Cisco because I had no idea what it was. And that's like worse than Four Loko. Like, what the y'all were trying to kill yourselves.
They were going to stay sipping it. They're in the heavy D show.
Cisco, man, Cisco stories. Jesus Christ. That was it was sweet. You know what I'm saying? Sweet. And I don't know, we just didn't care. You know what I'm saying? You remember Goldschlager? It was something like that.
Ooh, they don't make that anymore?
Without the gold chips in it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we was Cisco'd out. You know what I'm
But yeah, I mean, Heavy D did these records with Super Cat and all these artists, and Delilah is probably my favorite Heavy D record.
Yep.
And
I love it.
Go ahead.
We used to sit and listen to a lot of Steel Pulse, of course, Bob Marley, and then like Coco T, and you know, all the singers, Dennis Brown. Like, we grew up, we listened to those records every single day. Our fathers used to, you know, my pops was really the DJ on the block with all the records. You know what I'm saying? So one time we did a Thanksgiving thing where my pops brought all his records down to Hev house. Hev lived 5 houses down from me. So, you know, he would just bring the stuff down there and had a big old Jamaican party. And it was crazy. It was crazy. And Pops was playing all the records, all the oldies. And, you know, we was lit. We was lit.
Yeah. Well, no Hev, no Puff, no Mary J. Blige, no Bad Boy, no Pete Rock, CL Smooth. So definitely, like, I think that his legacy is definitely underrated, and I jump at the chance to give Heavy D his flowers every time. And I know you do too. I know last week, was his birthday, I think. You was posting a lot of different clips. I truly appreciated it.
Yeah, like, felt like part of me left when he left, but that's how close we were. And, you know, I thank him every day for putting me in position and making me who I am.
Yeah. Now, you spoke on your father being a DJ on the block and having all the records. And my father, he wasn't a DJ on the block, but he definitely had all the records. I think for black men in particular in the 70s, collecting records and having vinyl was a status symbol. You had to have the velvet painting. You had to have a certain kind of stereo. You had to have your records, and people would come over and you would impress them with your record collection.
And Macintosh amps were was a big deal.
Yeah.
And still is a big deal. I don't know, you know, I'm getting technical and nerdy, but you had to have those too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then once you had all that, all the elements, you was rocking.
No doubt. You know but I want you to speak about how having parents who had these deep music collections sort of spawned hip hop, and to be a hip hop DJ, because all the best hip hop producers start out as DJs first. So to be a hip hop DJ, which turns into a producer, because where hip hop comes from, you have to know every single form of music. You know, what D Nice did for Quarantine, you know, what made it so impressive for people outside of the hip hop community who don't know D Nice pedigree, right? We know what D Nice, we expect D Nice to come like that. But for people outside of hip hop, they were so impressed with his musical knowledge. But for a hip hop DJ, you have to be like that.
Yeah, you have to be like that. And unfortunately, that was a great thing that I was kind of born into. You know, my pops had the records, and I remember him being at work. Anytime he was at work, I would go in the living room where he kept everything, the equipment, the records. And one time I was taking all his 45s out. I was taking the jackets and just doing whatever. I was young, you know, a little kid, and I was stacking the 45s up. I was taking them out the sleeve and stacked them up real, real high. And he came home, and instead of getting mad at me, he was just like, you know what? Let me show you how this works.
Wow.
Let me show you how you take care of a vinyl record. Let me show you who's some of the valuable singers that you need to listen to, from James Brown to Aretha Franklin to you name it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I got acquainted with loving vinyl, you know, and then I fell in love with James Brown. Then I met James Brown when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
Me and Grap Lover, me and my brother.
Shout out to Grap Lover.
Yes, That leads me to I was just going to talk about your love of the Godfather of Soul, and you call yourself the Soul Brother #1. Can you tell us any James Brown stories that haven't been told before? And also, I would love to get your top 5 James Browns.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I probably told this story before that I met him when I was 7. That's the only real story I got.
We'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. My mom's took me and my younger brother to a concert that he did in our neighborhood in Mount Vernon. And it was at a place called the Left Bank, all right? And we went in there, and I didn't know what was happening. I was just a little kid. Then next thing you know, the guy that used to introduce James Brown comes out. I didn't know who he was, Danny Ray. I didn't know who he was. And then he started introducing the band, the JBs, and then Lynn Collins came out, and then Marvin Whitney came out. Then James Brown comes out, and I'm as a little kid, I'm just like this, like just staring, dead stare, and it was an intermission, and my mom said, "Come on, y'all." She took us backstage to meet James Brown.
Wow!
And he shook my hand and my little brother's hand. And he was like, "God bless you, God bless you, God bless you." And I think I became peak rock that night.
Did she get backstage passes, or she just had the clout to go back there?
I think she might have told someone, "Hey, my sons, they love James Brown. I just got to meet him." And that's how it happened, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
We still need them top 5 James Brown for Dummies tracks.
Yes.
All right. Papa Don't Take No Mess. Is one I used to listen to a lot. Escapism.
Right, obviously.
Right? Escapism.
Like
Payback.
Right.
And then I have like instrumental James Brown. With the, JB's. This song called Same Beat.
Same Beat. Yeah.
By James Brown and the JB's, Fred Wesley. And then you had It's a Man's World.
Yeah, that's drippy right there.
Because that to me don't even sound like a slow joint if it wasn't played in a certain.
It's hard.
If it wasn't, it's crazy. It's a crazy song.
In the movie Juice, which was so important for the culture, the scene, one of the most important scenes in the movie, when Q, who's local, decides that he wants to achieve international fame, but signing up for the DJ contest.
Shout out to my boy Omar Epps.
Shout out to Omar Epps, word is bond.
You know what I'm saying?
You local, Q. In that scene, when he's trying to explain to his homies why he has to join this DJ contest, there's a poster in the back. And it advertises, if I'm correct, Richie Rich, DJ Scratch, and Pete Rock.
Hey, that's on a T-shirt. I got that T-shirt.
Okay. That flyer.
That flyer is a T-shirt.
So that was a real poster flyer? They didn't make that for the movie? That was just...
I think they made it for the movie, but, since the movie was such a classic.
Yeah.
And, there were things in the background that you could, take as memorabilia or do, T-shirts or whatever.
Right. So that was 1992 that the movie came out. I mean, you had the hottest records in the clubs. You the hottest DJ in the club. Describe that time in your life.
All right. To speak on the Juice thing before I do that, I was sitting in the movies, I was clueless. After watching the movie, and then dude says my name, and I'm my friends, everybody's like, "Yo, they just said you."
Yes.
And I'm like, "Oh,
right."
You know what I mean? But to answer your question, with around that time in the 90s, I was doing a lot of remixes, and I think the remix attention got me to do soundtracks, because that's something I actually started doing right after the remixing. Was like getting on the movie soundtrack, Menace to Society, Poetic Justice, High School High, a bunch of others. And those were fun because I got to hang out on the set of Menace to Society while they were filming.
Right.
And then when they wrapped the movie, it was this like big party at Universal Studios and with all the actors and everything. And we got drunk and high. It was fun.
No doubt. Now, you mentioned Marley Marl. Marley's name keeps coming up on this show for obvious reasons. He's such a He inspired so many great hip hop artists.
He's a king.
Yes, and you learned so much from him. He helped break you into business. When I got into hip hop, though, when I started making my name known, Hot 97 was still kind of a newish thing, and Future Flavors, who show with you and Marl, was very, very important to the culture because y'all represented what was going on in the streets, and you brought what was going on in the streets to the industry.
Yes.
And I don't quite remember even how I met you, Pete. Do you remember?
Damn. I know when Raucus came around, I think that
it was a Raucus
the
era.
time.
Maybe you was coming up to the Raucus office.
A lot.
Maybe that's
Like
what it
a
was.
A lot.
So I probably met you at the Raucus office, but I had your phone number, and I was listening to Future Flavors on Hot 97 with you and Marley, and you played what I thought was an official remix for a Capadonna record. And I was like, yo, that beat is crazy. And I spoke to you or text you or ran into you, and I'm like, yo, that beat is crazy. And then you said, well, that beat is not an official remix. That's just something I threw under those vocals. So
Yep.
I was like, yo, can I have that beat? And you gave me that beat, and it became the remix for Respiration on the Black Star album. So
that was a great story because I remember you distinctly. That whole interaction, I remember it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because you had called and you was like, yo, that beat, you did something. I heard something with Capadonna, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, that ain't the real remix. And you was like, yo, let me get that.
Word.
I was like, all right. And then we did it. That was dope.
Yeah, flying high. We had a good time with that.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to throw out 3 underrated producers, and you tell me how you feel about them.
You about to have some fun, ain't you?
Yeah. All right, so number 1, Howie T.
Oh, my God. What? I'm going to have to say him, Marley, and Teddy were like 3 main people that I was like. But Howie T, from Chub Rock to Real Roxanne to Special Ed, oh, man. Like clean production, like super clean.
Brooklyn dude.
Yeah, Brooklyn cat.
From around my way.
Making that fire. I mean, I could name so many things that he's done. Even from Color Me Bad, that was a huge hit, by the way. You know, and I maybe spoke to Howie maybe like 2 years ago. I know he's in Florida. Howie T inspired me from just listening to his beats and his scratches. You know, like his beats was crazy and they were clean and they were funky. And he was taking samples that people wasn't using back then. You know what I'm saying? Not even Marley was using this and doing certain things that Howie was doing. And Howie wasn't doing what Marley was doing, but they were both in their own light, like killing it. You know what I'm saying? And Howie did that for me, especially when the Chub Rock stuff came about and the Special Ed albums.
Yeah.
All right, Large Professor.
Oh, man. Large was like this, like a student of Paul C, but then had so many tricks to the trade that I actually picked up a few things from him. You know what I'm saying? Just being around him and seeing how he worked. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, you know, learning. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You could pick up stuff from me and it's okay. And, you know, I learned we all supposed to learn from each other. And I just, you know, took a little bit of everybody, right? And said, how could I be different from the people that inspired me? You know what I'm saying?
And finally, Prince Paul.
Prince Paul was like, his production, not only Dilla, like Big Daddy Kane album, like a bunch of, you know, other stuff. And then the group he was in, Gravediggers with RZA.
Yeah.
You know, I used to barrel over Paul's beats, you know, especially the De La stuff and the very, you know, 3 Feet High and Rising. I was playing the skits on the radio. I was like playing the whole album on the radio. It was so dope. I never heard hip hop like this. You know what I'm saying? And I was playing almost every cut on 3 Feet High and Rising. Then they presented me with a gold record. They came up to BLS back in the day and gave me that.
Wow.
Like, thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete, for playing our music. And I was like, if I could turn the camera, it's right over there.
Okay, you got your 3 Feet High and Rising Gold.
Yep.
That's beautiful, man.
Yep.
That's beautiful. I got to take this time to thank my friend Rubik's, one of my best friends I grew up with, because back in the day, Rubik's sat everybody in the neighborhood down, and he's like, y'all don't understand. Mecca and the Soul Brother. Like, y'all don't understand. And I was already a fan of Pete Rock. You know, I listened to BLS. When you was filling in for Marley, that was a good night for me. I was like, all respect due to Marl, but I'm like, okay, that young dude Pete Rock, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was already a fan of All Sold Out. I was a fan of The Creator. You on the boat in the video. You know, I loved all of that.
I took a lot from that whole Juice Crew era and that whole Marley circle.
Yeah.
Just like, he was like my number one dude, you know, and then it was Howie and Teddy, you know, but Marley for hip hop was like the first J Dilla.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I wasn't prepared for how good that album was. And I got to be honest with you.
Thank you, man.
It blew me away.
Bro.
And I know that I know what Mecca and the Soul Brother means to the culture. I know that people look at it as a cornerstone. So I know that people have come up to you and been like, this album has changed my life. I never heard nothing like it. I know that. But I'm telling you, for me and my crew, it was something special. Like when you said on Soul Brother #1, white people even say Pete Rock is bitching. Like I'm like, yo. So just tell me about what the fuck was going on in your brain when you and CL Smooth decided to make that album. Like, what was going on?
There's a lot of argument about that album, comparing it to the main ingredient.
We gonna get into that too.
Yeah. And then but Mecca, man, I don't know, bro. I was just on it. I figured it out. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, now I'm gonna have some fun. Now, from what I learned and what I know, let's go. You know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, we in there, and it's like you don't even none of that matters when you're making magic. You understand? Like, and then I remember the last day of recording Mecca and the Soul Brother. It was snowing outside. And I remember me and CL coming out, and I opened my car trunk, putting my drum machine, everything in there, and we was like, yo, we finished this shit. I said, how you think people gonna react to this? Because this is some other shit, bro. And then we had the Reminisce pop off, and we was like, I don't think people ready for what we got.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we throw out the EP first, which was All Sold Out. And we, you know, just testing the waters. We got the group home, Good Life song on there with all kind of remixes, then The Creator, and then Mecca, then All Sold Out, and I think one other song, Go With The Flow or something like that. And then people's response was like amazing. And so when we dropped the album, it was like, wow, this is something I've never, ever heard in my life, man. What kind of music is this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It connected us with our parents' generation in a real way. Like in a real, especially the intros and the outros and the way in which you made it like musically it was wholesome. You know, there's so many good songs in there. But Straighten It Out, this is a song that I want to ask you about this as a producer, right? Because at that point, sampling was still Marley Marl and them. It was they sort of invented this craft, and you were mastering it and perfecting it. But there was still a lot of gray area with sample clearance. And so there was a lot of pushback from the older artists who didn't understand the art form. And as CL Smooth was going at them kind of hard on this record. But also in that era, if you remember the Hood Rats? I forget what their name was before the Hood Rats. But they had a song, if you bootleg, you get your leg broke.
I remember that. Damn, Kweli. Damn, bro. You damn, bro.
Remember that shit?
Yes.
But that was a thing. I just seen footage recently, old footage of Lil Fame running up on one of them bootleggers on Canal and pressing them.
Yep.
In the
Yep.
video for
Yep.
Strain It Out,
Yep.
you pressing the bootleggers. So it was weird in that era where we didn't really understand because we were pressing the bootleggers like, you better not be selling our shit. But at the same time, we was telling the artists who came before us, you better let us sample your shit.
Yeah. You know what though about the sampling stuff? Like it once we started doing it, then it created a slight uproar, like with the artists we were sampling from, because we didn't realize that we had to pay for it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We was just finding the grooves and be like, yo, let's fuck with this. But we learned that we had.
Yeah, Bismarck, you learned the hard way for everybody.
Yeah, the Bismarck situation is what turned it on for, samples to be cleared. So
Yeah.
and then, but we were actually, me, myself, being a hip hop producer and, / musician, I'm looking at it as like, yo, we bringing back stuff that people may have forgot about and didn't remember or didn't, and it was out of respect, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I do realize now that part of that respect is paying them.
Yeah. Yeah.
For what you use, their music that you use. So it's sample clearance now. You got to really clear samples today.
Yeah. Especially
'Cause they
artists
will
like
come
of your
back.
caliber.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes.
The Pharrell situation should teach a lot of people to not just, unless you like one of those diggers that like to. I'm like one of those diggers too that like find that obscure stuff. Like
That was part of the
people
art
really,
form back then, though.
Yeah, that people really, really never heard.
Yeah.
Me and High Tech have conversations like that about, the record, the records we find.
That's right.
And stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's
That's
right.
my boy, High Tech. It's my brother, man.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
He learned from you. He was trying to imitate you or emulate you out of the same way that, you was trying to emulate the people who came before you.
And he's done a hell of a job because, he has joints.
Yeah.
It's crazy because now I'm at the age where people are sampling things that I grew up with, whereas before I would hear these songs and then I would hear the original songs. I'm like, oh, they stole that from such and such. My mom's like, nah, they didn't steal it.
It used to be a good thing to like, share, where you got something from and blow somebody's mind like, hey, wait a minute, that's Humpty or that's, Nas or and you playing the sample and you're like, oh, that's where you got that from. So how does that work? And then, I have to break it down to people how I find samples and what my ear is like.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part, being a producer, because you could be a producer and make beats, but if you ain't got no ear, then your beats might sound a little sus.
Now that segues perfectly into this next question because They Reminisce Over You, to me, is not just one of the greatest hip-hop songs of all time. It's one of the greatest songs of all time. And you spoke about your ear. They Reminisce Over You is the perfect example for me of how to sample in hip-hop. That today, that Tom Scott, like if aliens came down to Earth and they said, what's the perfect flip? Like, Troy, They Reminisce Over You. Because if you listen to that record, and it's like, what, 1 minute and 40 seconds or something in, you just listen, you vibing. I don't think anybody but Pete Rock would have heard that loop in the way that you heard it. And that, to me, is the talent.
So check this out, right? With that joint. If you ever heard Black Sheep's first album, they used the sample too.
Yeah. On a that part.
They just used the guitar.
Yeah, the guitar.
So when I found the sample, they were on that album. It was so many other things, right? But when I listened to the Today song, I let it fly, right? Listening to it, like, damn, it's so much more to this song. Like I said, I know Black Sheep used it, but damn, that bass line.
Similac Child. The title just jumped in my head.
Yes, Similac Child. And, I heard all these other elements in the song. The bass line, and then I started picturing drums in my head and then made the drums, on the SP. Made the bass line, all that stuff, filtered it on the SP. And then with the SP, you had to dump and save. So you had to take certain sounds, save it, then, erase the sounds, but you may leave the drums and then add your other elements. And that's how I made the beat.
Man. Now, not only...
And I was saving it on it was like four different discs of that one beat.
Floppy
and now your homie Madlib is out here on the iPad. But we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later.
I talk to O all the time, every day, so we already know.
We're going to talk about Madlib, of course.
Yeah,
but
we'll talk about it.
On this subject, tell the world, or at least the listeners of this show, about who Trouble T. Roy was and how important he was to the family and the crew, and what making that record to celebrate his life meant to you.
Trouble T. Roy was one of the greatest neighborhood buddies you can have. And he lived on my block. Hev lived that way. Troy lived that way. So I'm in the middle of both of them. You know what I'm saying? He was one of those guys that, if he seen you getting beat up, he'd be like, all right, we're going to teach you how to fight. And this is what he did for me. I got jumped. You know what I'm saying? And then he heard about it, and he made me fight the dude and told me, if you don't beat this nigga's ass, I'm going to fuck you up. And, I ain't want that. And so I was doing anything to win, man. You know what I'm saying? I took a bottle, I took a garbage can, and I just started wailing on the cat. And then I beat him up. You know what I'm saying? And then he told me, he was one of those type of dudes. So that goes directly to your heart right there.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? When you got people like that, just that's real love. Yeah. Someone who really cares about you. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't want to see you getting beat up in the street. And with that said, it was like he was just this loving neighborhood dude. And when he passed away, it was just like the way it happened. And when Hev called me crying like that, I was like, I ain't know what to think. And then he said he could barely get it out of his mouth. You know what I'm saying? And then when he finally said it, we were just all devastated, man. The whole neighborhood. I just ran out in front Troy's dead, Troy's dead. And it was crazy. It was crazy, man. So I somehow found the inspiration in that song or in that sample to create something for him.
Yeah.
And CL actually had these rhymes written, but it wasn't like, how you may have something in the composition book that you like, I need a beat for this.
Yeah.
And I was making Reminisce, and then I gave him the beat, and he was experimenting with it, and then he turned pages in his composition book and said, I'm gonna use this. And it was the same rhymes that you hear on Reminisce. But with additions to, being Troy,
right,
naming it Troy, and then, talking about him in the joint. Yeah. He had to add his experience with Troy, which was a fight in the street with Troy.
Yes, I feel that made hip-hop very relatable, him talking about his personal life. Can you give us a little bit more of the contributions CL Smooth has had to hip-hop?
Basically, his voice was different. Never heard a voice like his. And he had that voice in high school. And I was like, man, let's experiment. I was already playing around with the beats. I'm a DJ. I'm already playing with the music. And I'm like, yo, come over. And, a couple of neighborhood guys brought him over. And we was playing around. And we was down there all day, all night. And with me, if I start having fun, you ain't going nowhere.
That's me too.
You ain't going nowhere because you ain't gonna ruin this for me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So that's what it was, bro. And I just fell in love with what I was doing.
Yeah,
I just fell in love with what I was doing, and I was acquiring the right people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it was heaven. It was hip hop in heaven.
No doubt.
That holding people hostage for fun. That's that Gemini
and not to mention
out.
AZ and Redman, how we weren't anybody. We weren't even known, and we were all working together trying to get on.
Right.
How that
crazy.
happened?
That's crazy. Now,
crazy.
One of the first things you did as a successful group is try to put out I and support your brother, Grab Lover, and on Mecca and the Soul Brother, that freestyle interlude Well, now, before the freestyle interlude, Grap raps about being, yo, that's the kid from Mecca and the Soul Brother, right? And so he was a dancer, and my whole crew was dancers. So when I heard that lyric, it made the album more relatable to me. And then later in the album, when he freestyling, and y'all like, oh, well, that's what me and my crew used to do. And so to hear somebody on a professional level be like, okay, they just like us.
Yep.
So for me, that's what Grap contributed to the album, is he gave it this perspective of somebody who wasn't quite as famous.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
You know what? No. There was an engineer that was working on Mecca and the Soul Brother named Chris Champion, right? And Chris Champion, when we was in the booth, it was like a bunch of us in the mic booth. We were just recording something, right? And then we just start playing around, right? And rapping, and you know, when you just in the booth with your homies and you just start talking maybe about some stuff, and then we just start rhyming. I just started beatboxing and Grap started rhyming, and then Chris hit record. We didn't even know he was recording it.
Right.
And so
it's a good engineer.
When we came out the booth, he played it back. You know, at that time, this was reels. It wasn't no, digital. It was reels. It was like reel to reel, and you could hear the rewind. So he was rewinding it and played it back, and we was like, yo, we gonna use that. Let's use that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And then, we started off the B side of Mecca and the Soul Brother with that freestyle.
Yeah. Shout out to Grap.
That's how that happened. Yeah, Grap.
He always comes through to my shows in the Bay Area, in DC area, or wherever he's at.
He's over in DC. Yeah. Yep, he's out there.
Now we're gonna get into this main ingredient conversation. Because as great as Mecca was, Main Ingredient came out and smacked niggas in the face. For me, it was a gateway to rediscover Donald Byrd, Roy Ayers, the things you did with those certain samples. These are records my father loved. I loved Escape. I love Carmel City. Now in Mecca, CL got real lovey-dovey on Lots of Lovin'. Like Lots of Lovin' is the hardest love song bars. He might have eclipsed LL Cool J with those bars, like what he said.
Shout out to LL Cool J. That's what I was going to say, because he made the best rap love records.
And I got to say, I make great rap love songs too. I put my hat in the running, but they be sleeping on me, son. But CL said, the nigga said, ride through the tunnel with love, share a milkshake, carve your name on a tree by the lake.
Tree by the lake. That's some romance. That's some romance for your ass.
Oh yeah, he was got
That's some
that
romance
night.
for that ass. That's exactly right.
Oh my God.
But
oh my God.
On Main Ingredient,
we were young hitting you with that type.
Yeah,
of
you
stuff,
you want to do Tunnel of Love? He had the carnival.
It was really what the aura of Heavy D was about.
Right.
Like, I wanted to be every fabric of him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the way I seen him treat women and how they loved them, I was like, I want to mock that. You know what I'm saying?
Now, I think CL got more lyrical on this album, but there was a lot more love songs. I feel like Pete Rock and CL Smooth made it safe for more underground cats to do love songs. What's your take on that?
Why not? You got a heart, don't you?
Yeah.
It was something that just came along with the territory. I was making hardcore street corner bodega beats with love songs and songs that you could just enjoy for fun and mixed it all together. And that's what you got. And that's what you got.
Now on the intro song, In the House, CL says, I'm letting off at anyone who's trying to steal my DJ. At that time, right? At that time, you was getting a lot of outside work. You getting a lot of remixes. People wanted that Pete Rock sound, and I can imagine if you in a group with Pete Rock, you like, yo, that's our group sound. How did you feel about that lyric at that time?
I laughed at it. I was just like, oh, nigga, you crazy. I used to be like, yo, you crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? But it was all in due fun, man.
Right.
I just liked, like, after Mecca, I was so excited to go in for the next project. I had this feeling, like, I had a great feeling going into the Main Ingredient, doing the Main Ingredient.
It feels great.
And Biggie was present.
Right.
He saw me make In the Flesh in my basement. He came over, he was like, yo, I just want to see how you make a beat.
That's dope.
Wow.
And then I made that in front of him, and that's on the main Ingredient.
That's ill. That's a nice slice of hip-hop history.
So every time you hear that song In the Flesh, Biggie is right there.
Wow. Now, I saw an interview recently. It's an older interview. I think it's with Kanye and Peter Rosenberg, where he talks about hearing "I Gotta Love." And Rosenberg and Cypher and them, shout out to Cypher Sounds.
I posted that.
Oh, you posted that? Oh, that's why I saw it on your
Yes.
feed.
I posted
Your Instagram is very fun, by the way, Pete.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
You the
bro.
only person-
I ain't no science to it. I just see things.
Yeah.
You know, I used to see in the beginning. I didn't know any better with Instagram. I was just posting anything. You can't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Can't do
You
that.
gotta-
What was anything?
You gotta get and then if you're posting something that you want people to, you gotta just fact check and then 10 times.
Oh, they will do it
before
for you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But otherwise than that, man, like, it's an unexplainable feeling. You know, it was just a fun time in hip hop, man. Golden era, man.
Yeah,
Nothing
Kanye
like
talks
it.
about "I Gotta Love" being an influence of his particular sound, and when he said that, I heard it. I'm like, yeah, I could see how Kanye heard "I Gotta Love" as like, okay, this is the style of beats I want to make. And then you did "The Joy" on Watch Stone. Do you remember "Strong Arm Steady" had that beat?
Yeah.
And then it was like-
that beat was everywhere at first. I gave
Everybody
it to,
had
I gave
this
it to. Yep, Strong Arm had it. Busta Rhymes had it. But I you know, when Kanye came to the table, he was like, you know, it was cha-ching, cha-ching.
Right.
you know.
I remember it was.
So
I
I was
remember
like-
because you and I shared a manager at that time, and
Yep,
I remember
yep.
Corey Smith. I remember the conversation.
Mr. Corey Smith, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. But yeah, man, we was having fun at that time. We went to Hawaii. I had a ball with him in Hawaii, and he picked like 8 beats, and we just narrowed it down to one.
He called
you
himself
know?
Pete Rock. It was on Slum Village
Yes,
record, right?
yes, he did.
Yeah.
the new version
New version
of
of
me.
Pete Rock. As
I
the
did-
actual still living Pete Rock. Did that give you pause for a
Yes.
second? Nigga, what is you?
Yes.
New version of
yes.
Pete
I'm
Rock.
just glad
I'm
he
still
reached out.
here.
You know?
I'm still here.
For real. Yeah, for real. Like, I'm glad he said that. And then, you know, it just led us to working together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, Dark Twisted Fantasy was a great experience.
Yeah, man. Now,
And D-Dot told me a story one time. that
Okay.
He brought Kanye to one of my studio sessions in Green Street. I just didn't know the
Green
dude.
Street was your home.
Yeah. And he said, yo, Pete, you don't remember I brought Kanye to your session? And I was like, word?
Okay.
He's like, yeah. man.
Kanye was making the rounds.
Yeah, shout out to the Mad Rapper.
Shout out to D-Dot, Brooklyn Angeletti.
Yep.
I heard you like Green Street because of that equalizer. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The board,
Okay.
the SSL board that was in there. It was just giving up a sound. And then you got like one of the most talented engineers ever, Jamie Staub, who found my sound
Okay.
and knows how to work it and make it sound like it's supposed to.
Okay, word up. Now, speaking of finding a sound and making it work like it's supposed to, Run DMC, when I was in high school, was sort of losing relevance in the eyes of younger, non-experienced hip-hop fans. We was looking at people like Black Sheep and Tropical Quest and Pete Rock and them like, that's the real hip-hop. You know, Run DMC, that's more old school. Now,
Well, Back From Hell album.
Back from Hell era.
album.
Back from Hell era, exactly. They did Down with the King with Chew and CL Smooth. That instantly, for my money, made them relevant to a generation of people who should have been paying them homage, but were not. Tell me about the making of that song and working with Jam Master Jay on that song.
Well, that song went #1 with a bullet in the Billboard magazine. So, you know, that was, for me, all right, let me tell you this story. Let me start from the beginning, because I had to prove myself to Russell Simmons and you know, Leor, Def Jam. So, you know, just started working on some stuff closely with Jam Master Jay. You know what I'm saying? You know, because then we had the idea and then played it for Russell, and Russell was like, you know, and then we went back to the drawing board. My feelings just kind of went, right? And then Jay comes to my mother's house and rings the bell, and I open the door, and it's like, what?
Whoa.
And then, you know, he's like, yo, let's go finish this shit, man. And so we went to finish it in my basement. You know what I'm saying? That's when I started adding the sample and we found that. And then, you know, Jay was tapping out the beat on the SP. And I was like, hold on, let me hit record. Hit record, and he, right? And then I just kind of came behind them and, you know, then I just dressed the beat. You know what I'm saying? And put the sample and the bass in there, and you know, sprinkled other little things in there, and then scratches, and then rhymes, and then CL, and then me, and then I didn't want to rap on it, but then I ended up rapping on it.
Yeah, you batted cleanup, but you played tribute to DMC.
Just like I didn't want to sing on "The World Is Yours," but I ended up singing on it.
Classic moments in hip hop. Like I said to you when we was off camera, you've been there in my life even before I knew you. And it's like, as these are moments in my life that was important to me, you know? Like, it was important to me that people understood that we need to pay tribute to Run DMC in a proper way.
Yeah.
And you made me realize that, you know.
Favorite rap group.
We're going to interview DMC very shortly, but I was reading an interview with him where he said, at that time, we were trying to gain relevance, and we worked with these other groups, worked with other hip-hop groups, and we ended up sounding like them, but when we got with Pete Rock and CL Smooth, we sounded like Run DMC.
Yep, because I told him to. I was like, man, don't stay away from who y'all are. Don't try to be, you know what I'm saying? Stay who you are, but the music is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Let the music talk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, you did the same thing with Public Enemy. Public Enemy has always been a, you know, giant important group in the culture, but the music moves fast. I have a theory in hip hop. You got 5 years.
Can I just talk about another huge influence?
Please.
On the production tip that
Bomb
I got
Squad.
to witness. I was just sitting there watching them in Green Street. Green Street was where they worked.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I used to sit there every day. I saw the Ice Cube album go down. I saw America's Most Wanted go down.
So that's interesting because that Shut 'Em Down remix, I mean, you know, the blaring horns, this is a Public Enemy sound. So you, from watching the Bomb Squad, you knew what they needed in that era, in a newer era.
The way, you know, the Black Power thing, you know, I was very much for that. And you know, I felt like if I'm going to do something like this, I have to pretend I'm having a war in my head, you know, and it's a black people's fighting the war, and so that's how I get the inspiration to do with all the sounds and the craziness, and, you know, because that to me is just like, you know, it's pretty militant beat.
Yeah, the original beat is no slouch either.
Not at all.
But the
bass
remix,
and drum, that was hard.
Yeah, the remix just gave it just a different energy.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's really what put me on the map as far as production.
The Shut 'Em Down remix.
That remix right there was like, yo, who's Pete Rock?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who's that kid Pete Rock?
So now you're one of the producers behind one of the best albums that ever come out in music of all time, Illmatic. World Is Yours. You said you didn't feel like singing the hook. Tell us the story of how you got involved in working with Nas on that album.
That happened through Large Professor, of course. You know, he was the captain of the ship with that. And he was rounding up people like myself and Q-Tip and the rest of the producers, LES, and, you know, said, yo, this is what I need for the kid. And after listening to him on Main Source album, we were like, whoa, like, yo, dog, what's up with homie? Like, you know, once that started, he brought Nas to the crib. And, you know, I already had that beat made. I didn't make it in front of him or nothing. It was already made. And so I was going through floppy disks of beats, you know, for the SP. And I was popping disc in and out. And then I popped that one in. And as I was getting ready to play the next beat, he's like, oh, wait. Let that rock. And so I'm, you know, he's bopping his head. You know what I'm saying? And then he's coming up with the idea. Then he's like, yo, I'm gonna do this. And then he was like, I want you to sing this. And I was like, I ain't no singer, man. I ain't no singer. No R&B. I used to be playing in the booth, like, and, you know, but I was just like, all right, let me try it. You know what I'm saying? And then I ended up doing a good job, I think.
It's classic.
Yeah, I ain't Teddy Pendergrass.
Teddy P.
Yeah, I ain't Teddy P, but it worked out. It worked out. And that was a good time in the 90s too, you know, you know, Tribe was popping, Main Source, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, now Nas.
Yeah.
You know, let's share some of this with the God.
Let's all get together and work together on this Nas project.
Yeah.
Really beautiful project.
Yeah. And, I think we were all secretly competing with each other, from what I understand.
Friendly.
And then Primo told me when he heard The World Is Yours, he went back and made two other joints. And he was like, man, and actually he was there when I did the scratches, when I recorded the scratches in the Nas break of The World Is Yours, you know, the scratching. Primo was standing right there. I mean, it's moments like that that's special to me.
Yeah.
You know, to remember who was there. You know what I'm saying?
I was there. I was in the room when it all went down.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that with your
now it's a big deal because people would love to see something like that caught on film.
Yeah.
You know?
Some of it
like
I saw in the Illmatic documentary. You know, they had young Pete Rock, young Premier looking like young Kweli back in the day.
There's a video of Dilla picking me up from the airport in his brand new Lincoln Navigator, right? And I jump in the car with cassettes of my beats, and I start playing them, and he's going nuts. And I could hear he's done some of the beats over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa.
Dilla used to do Pete Rock beats over for practice, right?
That boy was amazing on the beat tip. Like, it was just like, damn, man, you were actually born here. You was here to do this. Like, he's one of them.
Yeah,
you know
man.
what I'm saying?
I've heard that the Biggie's Juicy was originally a Pete Rock beat, but Trackmasters and Diddy took credit for it, and your consolation prize was the remix. So that is correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah, I just water under the bridge. You know what I'm saying? I used to be mad at that, but I was like, nah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't own that shit. That's James M. Toomey's music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to deal with him. You know what I mean?
But it still must feel good to be a part of the creation of this great record in hip hop. That record really, in a lot of ways, that record is like they reminisce.
Yeah.
You know.
But you know what's funny? Biggie was like, "Yo, P, I don't even like
I've heard
that
this.
idea. I don't even like it. He ain't even like Juicy."
Really? That's crazy. A couple of people we have had songs that they didn't like, or songs that someone over them didn't like, ended up being some of the biggest.
Yep.
That's what happens.
Yep.
You listen to somebody like a Puffy who has a vision, and you're like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna keep it real. Like Mary J. Blige, when I recorded I Try with her, she told me that her biggest record was that Hateration.
Don't get let's get it.
And she said to me, she was like,
Family Affair.
That's
Oh, that's the name of it? We call it Hateration.
And she's like,
did a remix with CL on it.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Did a remix with CL on it.
But
Yes, sir.
she said that was Dr. Dre and him's idea, and that wasn't her idea, and she wasn't into it when she recorded it. She just followed their lead, and it became her biggest selling record.
Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea. But you know what? Those kind of stories exist, but we just don't know it until now.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Me neither.
I don't want to mess this up. I think I'm remembering it correctly.
No,
I think she even said that she don't even know what those words mean.
Who does? We just sing them.
I wonder if she ever heard the remix I did with CL on it with her.
Man, you did a remix
I
of
thought-
Reminisce too with the Reminisce she did back in the day too, right?
Yeah, I did. She did Reminisce, right?
Yeah, okay, that's right.
And put CL on the remix, but the Reminisce Over You song itself, I've done like little hip hop remixes.
Okay.
Talib, sometimes I forget that you're like a huge rapper. Because when you're sitting here talking, when I was working with Mary J. Blige, I'm like, because I know you so well.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, fuck, Mary J. Blige.
Oh yeah, Queen. That's the Queen. There would be no Mary J. Blige slander when I'm around.
Oh, me neither. I love her.
None. What?
And
So
her
that's
bop.
914 right
That's
there,
right.
boy.
That's right. That's the same
You know
area.
what I'm saying?
So because you and I shared a manager, we ended up going on tour together. That was fun. I learned so much from you.
That tour was with Slaughterhouse.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
that was a good
That was
time.
fun.
Shout out to Royce and Joel.
And we got stuck
Joey.
somewhere. Utah, I think. We was stuck. Wow. And I was cooking for y'all.
That's right.
Remember?
That's right. You do get busy on that chefing it up.
Yes, sir.
This is what I remember though. You had your collection of DVDs, and and you would be like, okay, this is what we watch. You would plan out what we watching, right? And it would be like a lot of street DVDs about some street shit, and we'd be watching these street DVDs, and people would be like, "Yo, I know that dude right there."
Yep.
Yo, I know that dude right there.
I remember him. I remember him. Yeah.
And then you was watching a lot of Marvel, particularly Spider-Man, but particularly the Hulk. And you were the biggest Hulk fan, and anybody who has visited your Instagram knows they're going to get a lot of dose of the Hulk, all different versions of Hulk. So tell me about the Hulk and Marvel for you.
For me, everyone wants to be the strongest one there is, right? Right. So there you have it. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt the Hulk's character coincides with human beings because, we all get angry and upset, right?
Yeah.
And so it spoke to that. And if you watch the TV show was very interesting on certain subjects and episodes that would occur, and which I fell in love with, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they took the TV show and took it away from the comic book thing, and made it and put it in reality. You know what I'm saying? And so that was brilliant in itself. So, you took the Hulk out the comics and put him in the real world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, but I still like both versions, and I met Lou Ferrigno and he took a picture with my son. And
shout out to Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby.
Word up.
I like seeing Lou Ferrigno in that second Hulk movie.
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
I got to do a shout out real quick to my my uncle, Prince Colin, may he rest in peace. We watched the Hulk TV show because he used to babysit us and he loved the Hulk. We used to call him the Green Man. We didn't know it was called the Hulk. But Talib talks about Marvel all the time and I never can reminisce, but we watched the Hulk faithfully.
Marvel was like, it inspired children. I was a little kid reading them books, like getting inspired. Like, I'm going to be a super go one day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those comic books just did something to us. You know what I'm saying? And it gave us a secret power that I don't think people would understand. As far as how you can apply yourself to life and things that you find your niche doing, or whatever. I just took the superhero elements of what I found my niche and just added it.
That's right. I always tell people that writing is my superpower.
Yes.
And it's important that you understand that, because I'm good at performing on stage, right? I'm good at certain things. I'm good at recording in the studio, but those aren't my superpowers. My superpower is writing, is putting that pen to paper and coming up with a lyric.
The Camp Lo album, when you repped on that, I was just like, damn, this dude's sharp.
Oh, thank you for having me on that too.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna tell you this funny story about that 80 Blocks to Tiffany. Because also Camp Lo was managed by Corey Smith as well for a period of time. I was doing shows with them. And them dudes, they are so musical. They work with the best producers. I shout out to Ski Beats. You know what I'm saying?
And their dress code was always
the 70s shit.
Masterful.
Like, they took that 70s shit to even after they got off the 70s shit, they still kept it like Uptown Fly. But them dudes is competitive. And we did a show in Europe years ago, and I never forgot this, where I was playing, you play your fellow artists, your new shit. I'm playing that you're working on, and we in the Sprinter van going to the venue, and I'm playing them the new shit. And I don't remember if it was Geechee or the other one. One of them was like Sonny Chiba. One of them was like, "Yo, you stepped it up." And I thought, I stepped it up, nigga. What do you mean? From what? And so I never forgot that, because I remember thinking, they serious about this. They looking at me critically.
Yeah,
okay.
Brother. Yeah.
Okay, so when I got on that record, I remembered that.
Yes.
I was like, I remember when Sonny Chiba told me I stepped it up.
That's what you was thinking about.
I was trying to step it up.
Damn, you was murdering. You murdered that, bro. You murdered
Shout out to Camp Lo, such
impressed.
a great hip hop group that made me step it up because they challenged me.
Yes, what's up though?
No doubt.
Respectfully.
Yes.
Respectfully.
Like, I remember, I'll never forget that. They was like, you stepped it up. And Well, what did you think about my shit before I played you this?
We know what you're capable of. I always thought you was a great MC.
Right.
But then you can always be greater.
That's
you know
right.
What I'm saying?
Thank you for having me on Soul Survivor 2 with CL Smooth.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to that recently. I was like, yo, Pete got 3 verses out of me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
On a song that wasn't on my
all
album.
3 out of you.
Got
That's
3.
Right. That's right. I was the best rap label I've ever been on. You know what I mean?
Speaking of Soul Survivor, speaking of Marvel, Soul Survivor was like a cousin to a Wu-Tang album for me. You had Meth on it, Raekwon, Ghost, rest in peace, Prodigy. The Game is one of the greatest hip-hop songs I've ever heard in my life. I've heard you compare Wu-Tang to Marvel superheroes.
Yeah, man.
Can you break that down?
That's easy. 9 dope MCs. You could pick 9 Marvel heroes that match. You know what I'm saying? And they actually did that themselves. I know Deck likes Spidey. I know Meth likes Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, right.
You know what I'm saying? Ghost
Iron Man.
likes Iron Man. You know what I'm saying? I looked at Wu-Tang like that, like the Avengers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like in hip hop. It really is that. You know what I'm saying? It really is that when you just single out what they both do for real. Like hip hop, we could be superheroes, and then you got the superheroes that's doing the superhero life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Another superhero in hip hop is Madlib. He even has aliases. You know,
Oh my God.
You are the only person who speaks to Madlib. He don't even speak to his lawyer and his manager as much as he speaks to you. How is it that and Madlib on our show, we asked him to name his top. We asked Matt, did you see this clip? We asked Madlib name his top 5 producers. He says, I'll give you 3. And the first one he says is Pete Rock.
Yes.
So tell me about your relationship with Mr. Otis Jackson Jr.
Man, it goes so far back, you know what I'm saying, since Loot Pack days and just, before MF Doom and, you know what I'm saying, and all his instrumental albums is what really, really, like I've heard him develop himself.
Yeah.
Everything he's ever done has always been interesting to me. Everything. And then he just, the more he did, the better the beats got. It was that's just the nature of a producer. Like your beats start out a certain level, and then the more you make, the better it gets.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
okay.
And with Madlib, he had that dirty distortion, and then, he just knows how to mess with it now. And then still make something clean and dope. Like today, like we talk all the time, man. We talk all the time, every day.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for producing some of the best records I've done in my career. On my most successful album, you produced Stay Around, Holy Moly. Reflection Eternal would not exist without Gangstar and Pete Rock and CL Smooth.
Man, shoot. Shout out to High Tech,
Shout out to High Tech.
You know what I'm saying? Cincinnati.
Me and Diamond D just did a record, Gotham. That's in that same tradition of producer MC.
When I seen him post that, I was like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then, I'm just dying to hear it, bro.
No doubt.
Oh, it's good.
You remember when you used to be all excited to hear,
oh yeah,
new hip hop dope, done by dope artists? You just be like, can't wait to hear
That's
what
what we're trying to bring back.
Yes.
Now, I did another project that was inspired by, Pete Rock and CL Smooth. That's Liberation with Madlib. We did the first one, and now you're rapping.
1 and 2, both of them are fire.
Right. I played you Liberation 2, 10 years ago? How long ago was this?
That shit, yeah, it was about that.
About 10 years ago? I'm working on getting that out. You were on a song with Nico Is and Sticky Fingers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
See? You rap.
I forgot.
Yeah, you say, you're on the album. You say on the album, my only wish is that Carmelo get a ring. Now, Carmelo was on the Knicks when you wrote this song. I feel like I can still, please let me know if I don't have permission to use this lyric. I think it's still relevant because we still want Carmelo to get a ring. You know what I'm saying?
We
Even though he's
still
not on
want
the
him
Knicks.
to get a ring. I just wished him a happy birthday.
No doubt. I'm not a sports fan, but obviously you were a super, super, super Knicks fan.
Yes,
How
sir.
do you feel about
Yes,
the
sir.
Knicks right now?
Finally.
And don't ask me that. No, at least I
Finally
Nah,
is
but you know
how I
what? Listen. It's been 8 years since we've been in in the playoffs, right? Since 2012. So, you know, it's a step towards
It's
the
a step.
rainbow.
It is
you know
a
what I'm
step.
saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a step.
Okay.
Even if we don't
You're
make
managing
it,
your
we made it.
expectations.
Yeah. It's like we made it to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be, it can't go nowhere else but up.
Right.
Yeah, I think that I'm a New Yorker too, so no one hate on me. But I think that the fact that they finally made it in all of this time, like even if they lose tomorrow, it's like a clap.
Yeah, our
Look at this group.
bar is so low for the Knicks.
It's horrible.
Crazy.
Yo, but I'm just saying, we made it to the playoffs with this group. Look how many players went through the Knicks.
Right.
And, you know, we barely got to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? But when Melo, Shump, JR, we got to the playoffs. And now with this group. And all we need is one big breakout superstar player. Just one. And maybe a big man. That's it. That's it. and then learn how to gel.
It's a lot. It's a lot of onlys.
Y'all laughing. But Golden State, before they start winning them chips, they were trash.
Yeah.
They was trash before Curry and them and Clay. You know what I'm saying?
Everyone gets their
could
shine.
have this the same way for the Knicks, man. Give us a break, man.
Yeah,
We
everybody.
ain't winning since the 70s, but I'm just saying. That's what makes it more dope for me is loving the underdog.
That's right.
You know, I'm an underdog dude, so.
No doubt.
The Knicks will win one day.
Eventually.
You heard it here first. Now, you were talking about your respect and your love for Primo and your relationship. And you and Primo going from working on that Illmatic album to touring together as the tour DJs. Some of the greatest hip-hop shows I've ever seen in my lifetime has been Nas, particularly when he's on his Illmatic shit, having you and Primo both DJing for him at the same time, going back and forth, battling, doing the verses before there was a verses on stage, playing.
Nuts.
Yo, it's nuts.
Nuts.
Aren't y'all supposed to each be doing a Dilla soul album?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And I talk to Paz like all the time. You know, we talk. And I know Dave was down a little bit, but he's back.
Yes.
And I'm like, yo, y'all ready? I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
You know what I'm saying? So
that memory of us with Estelle off that and Anonymous Nobody is such a gorgeous record, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Whew.
Appreciate it. You know, shout out to Estelle Darlings for that.
Shout out to Estelle,
you know,
friend of the show.
Yep, De La Soul's like one of my favorite guys since like 1987, 88.
Oh, that's when I was born.
And you like Native Tongues adjacent because you produced Jazz, right, on Tribe Called Quest album?
Yes.
Yeah, man. And you produced...
I was never a Native Tongue
adjacent
member.
You're adjacent.
You know what I'm saying? But I used to watch in awe and be like, damn, you know, I'll be a nice addition to that.
No doubt.
But, you know what I'm saying?
You produced a Ventilation
with
with Phife Dawg, too. Tell me about that experience.
Phife is my boy, man. You know,
Rest in
like
peace.
out of that group, I think me and him was the closest because we talked about sports off the record. Off the record, it was no music. It was just friendship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what was important to me. And I'm like, wow, he's a real dude. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, to lose that is just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. That's a big loss.
Yeah. So, you know, that kind of stunned and shocked me.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else, because we all thought we was invincible in hip hop and none of us could die.
That's interesting.
People started dying.
Yeah, Phife was one of the first of our generation. Now it's happened a lot more often, but with Phife, it was
too often.
And then, you know, I didn't think people could, you know, I just thought we were real superheroes in hip hop and nothing bad could happen. Our health won't deteriorate. Like nothing was like that would take place. You know what I'm saying? But then reality hits, you know, and then you're just like, this is unbelievable. I'm not accepting this. And, you know, it hurts. It hurts.
Word. Yeah. Rest in peace, Phife Dawg.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Phife.
You also did Retropolitan with Sky Zoo, Don't Smoke Rock with Dizza, 80 Blocks from Tiffany's with Camp Lo and Talib, as you mentioned earlier.
And then Benny the Butcher and Dizza. I did a Benny the Butcher and Dizza EP.
You've worked with Max B, Jim Jones, and it seems like you're, how does it feel to be the go-to classical producer for the younger strain of hardcore NYC rap?
I love that young generation hardcore, new young rap, hardcore, you know, Griselda, you know,
Yes, you
Mob
did Griselda
Fleet,
Crew.
couple of, you know, other stuff. You know, Prodigy was my boy. You know what I'm saying? Like he told me a lot about certain dudes before I started working with them. You know what I'm saying? And you know, yeah, one of the Griselda, you know, the whole Griselda, Wu-Tang. I'm all for that street stuff.
No
I'm
doubt.
all for it.
Your sound helped encapsulate what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Now, we'll have a little bit of tech talk because you have a project, Return of the SP1200. Up until 2003, you were all SP, and then you got on the MPC 2000 XL, right? Now, producers and artists in hip-hop, they know about the impact of these machines, these drum machines, these keyboards and all that. But can you break down the difference between the SP and the MPC and how important the SP1200 and the MPC was to the sound of hip-hop?
The SP compared to the MP is just gives you a more full and raw sound. Like when you sample a kick in the SP versus the MP, the kick is in the SP is just like it just hits harder. You know what I'm saying? Something about but with the MP, with the knowledge I have, I know how to make it almost sound similar. But it still doesn't give you what the SP12 gives you. The only difference is sample time. The sample time is 10.2 seconds in the SP, and I did a lot of tricks to get certain stuff I wanted, you know, in the beat. But with the MP, you ain't got to do that. You could just sample what you want, you know, for however long. You know, I think that's like 3 minutes sample time. That's a long time. You know what I'm saying? Versus 10.2 seconds. If you listen back to my career, and Mecca and the Soul Brother, 10.2 seconds, all those beats.
So you just, it's crazy.
I look back at that and I'm like, fuck was I on?
High Tech tells a similar story of there's certain things he was doing that when he got to the big professional studios, he realized that he was doing it the hard way because he thought that's how you had to do it.
Yep. I was doing it the hard way. Now that I look back at I'm like, damn, I did 10 times more work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Than I'm doing today. Today, I'm just like, okay.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But still making it sound like, you know, like let's say exceptional studio work.
Yeah. Now you said earlier we were talking that you're working on a Peach Instrumentals 4, and that first Peach Instrumentals came out when I
have a new artist too.
What's his name?
His name is Amir, aka AMXXR. We got a mixtape out called 21 Grams. That's out right now.
Okay. But you inspired so many MCs like that with those beats, with those Peach Instrumentals.
Yeah, man. The Peach Instrumentals, I wanted to keep that going and the SP stuff going because it's inspiration. It's something that we all need. It's like a healing process, you know, to the soul, you know, instrumental music is medicine, man.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's medicine. And I'm going to always keep doing something that's going to make people think.
What I like about that series of albums is, you know, Peach Instrumentals was definitely my raucous era. You said that you did Peach Instrumentals 2 after hearing Dilla's Donuts and being like, okay, right? And now
so inspiring.
Peach Instrumentals 3, right? It's featuring my first band members, Daru Jones, Big Yuki. You talked about when you were describing it how you were following in the footsteps of James Brown. So it's like you're following the footsteps of James Brown, trying to give people a live experience on 3, but on 2, you were inspired by the person who you inspired. You know, it's like
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like encapsulating your career. These Peach Instrumentals.
The Peach Instrumentals 3, my band is an incredible band. They're really funky. And I got Prince's old bass player Mono in the band. And so it's Daru, Big Yuki, Mono, Marcus Machado, Jermaine Holmes, who sang background for D'Angelo.
Yeah.
And, you know, I come with like 20 beats and tell the band, go to work.
Shout out to Marcus and Daru. We had Pharaoh on. They got that excellent Project 13 with Pharaoh. I love how the hip hop producers are working hand in hand with the musicians in this era. You know, when I go see when I see Primo with Brady and them, when I see you working with Daru and them, is dope.
Yo, man, that's what it is. We trying to relive James Brown's life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, this is how they did it with live musicians. So, you know, the hip hop we sample, we make it sound hip hop. Yeah. But this is where it's at, right here, live shit. And so I'm just happy that I have the band members I have. Shout out to the Soul Brothers.
The Soul Brothers, word of bond.
Yeah.
So, Pete Rock.
Yes. About to ask me.
Will we
I see that look.
Will we hear another Pete Rock and CL Smooth album?
You know what? We're talking right now. We're talking. And you know, these things with the conversation keep going, and then eventually maybe. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say no or yes. That's where I'm at. I'm in the middle, and what the good thing is that we're talking.
Yes.
And,
as someone who's been your friend for a number of years, and I know Corey as well, and I've had the honor and pleasure to work with that man, and that man has been hugely inspirational to me. But I mean, you and me formed
that joint you did with him.
Yeah.
On that's a hot joint.
It's a great joint. As someone who knows you, I am glad to hear that you are in communication with CL Smooth.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, man.
It's a beautiful
thing.
As
we get older, you just look back up when you was like, man, we was kids, man. You know what I'm saying? We was kids, but then you know, everyone has their own thing that goes on. So, you know, after years of thinking about things, and you're just like, man, I'm past that. You know what I'm saying? Let me call my homie and talk to him.
No doubt. And beyond that, man, first of all, thank you for being on this show. The show was designed for brothers and people like you. Thank you for sharing your time and your energy. Thank you for creating what you have created. What's next for the Chocolate Boy Wonder, Soul Brother #1?
21 grams. I got a new label, True Soul. I got my new artists. I'm looking to sign dope MCs, and I know, I'm just gonna be the provider of, and of some music to them, and then, so they could do what they want and fly free.
No doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, the People's Party is proud to present Pete Rock on the beat. You don't stop.
You don't stop.